bit of water. I have added 50 ml. Kitchen. I am Bikramjit Ray, but you can call me Biki. The recipe I am making for you today is one of those standard dishes that you will get in Indian restaurants across the world. It's called Kadai paneer. Paneer is the Indian cottage cheese and Kadai is a dish, it's a wok in which you do the actual cooking. Now this is a mix and match of various different recipes, mostly found on the highways of India in little restaurants called dhabas, which have been opened for the truckers and those who travel up and down from city to city. And the great thing about this recipe is it's got a lot of flavor, it's easy to make, it's quick put together. You can mess around with the different levels of heat and spiciness. What I am going to make for you is from a standard Indian recipe from a restaurant. This is not a dish that you would have at home in an Indian home, but if you're making it, it's great as a fantastic breakfast or dinner dish as long as you have it with either rotis or naans, that's Indian bread. So let's begin our Kadai paneer. When I'm making my Kadai paneer is make the base for my sauce. For that I need to grind some vegetables together. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1.5 tomatoes, 1 large onion chopped. I'm going to put in 1 heap teaspoon of garlic chopped and 1 teaspoon of ginger chopped. Now that goes on to the blender to become a smooth paste. My paste is done and I am going to pour it into a bowl, one of these bowls which I used earlier. My base for the curry is ready for my Kadai paneer. Now what I have to do is I have to fry the pieces of paneer or Indian cottage cheese which I have cubed into 1-inch cubes. And I'm going to put in 4 teaspoons of clarified butter or ghee. And I'm going to put in my pieces of paneer into this and I'm going to fry it until they're slightly golden around the edges. So let's go. I'm using 250 grams of paneer or Indian cottage cheese. Here we go. The recipe begins. Now I have to tell you at this minute that you don't really need to fry your paneer if it's nice and fresh like the paneer I'm using. But what it does, it adds a little bit of texture and flavor to an otherwise pretty bland cottage cheese. Right, my paneer is golden brown. I'm now going to remove it and put it on a bit of paper and pretend that it's going to soak some of the ghee off. Now I've already got a bit of ghee in this from the residual paneer. What I do is I add another couple of teaspoons of ghee and I'm going to put in my spices now. The pan is really hot. I reduced it to a sim so that things don't get burnt. I'm going to put in my spices. First I got to put in 1 bay leaf. Now in India we use dried bay leaf which has a stronger flavor than actually fresh bay leaf, and I suggest that you use dry bay leaf for this recipe because in India we do not use fresh bay leaf. I'm going to put in 5 pieces of cloves and I'm going to put in a couple of dry red chilies, and after the dry red chilies I'm going to put in a 1/2-inch piece of cinnamon. Once everything is released its flavors, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my mix which I had made in the grinder. And in this low heat itself, I am going to let it cook until the tomatoes, the onions, all of this is cooked. It changes color and the oil separates from the gravy. I'll show you what it looks like. For that we have to wait and cook this. We keep checking on this from time to time. We don't want anything to get burnt. If you think it's getting too dry, add 20 ml of water, which is optional. And we keep checking on the sauce from time to time. The fat has left my gravy. Now it's time to add the dry spices into this. I'm going to add a quarter teaspoon of turmeric powder. I'm going to add half a teaspoon of cayenne pepper powder. This is to taste. You can add less or more according to what you think is necessary. I'm going to add a little bit of garam masala, which is the Indian 5-spice powder. It's available in all Indian stores. And I'm going to add a quarter teaspoon. Again, it's up to you how much you want to add. And into this, I'm going to give it a quick stir. And I'm going to put in about 20 ml of water. This is a recipe for a thick gravy, not something that's watery, so you have to just watch out how much water you add to it. Don't dilute the gravy too much. Into this I'm putting in half a capsicum, a green capsicum. This is also a good time to add a little bit of salt to taste. Alright, so I'm going to cook these capsicums for around 3 or 4 minutes until they're slightly soft. I like them crunchy. You can cook them more and get them absolutely soft if you so desire. Again, I am cooking on a low flame. I haven't put the flame up because I don't need to. The pan is already really hot. Let the capsicums imbibe the flavor of the gravy. My capsicums are cooked. I'm going to add my paneer. So into this, I'm going to add my pieces of cottage cheese, 250 grams of cottage cheese, which I have fried from before, as you know. I'm going to mix this up so that the sauce coats all the paneer or cottage cheese. And I'm going to add around 50 ml of water, which is going to just help all the flavors come together. And I'm going to let it cook for another 3 or 4 minutes. And my Kadai paneer is ready.